bookworms to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and today we are just going to be chatting about some books. So, there are four books that I recently read that I want to talk about. Two of these were 4-star reads for me, and two of them were 3-star reads. So, we are going to be talking about Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. Really did enjoy that one. And then we have If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. We have another Cinderella one, which is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. And lastly, we'll talk about Tell Me the Truth by Kiersten Modglin. So those are the four books we will be chatting about. Before we get started though, as always, if you will remember to give this video a like, it really does help out the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on a thing. We recently hit 100 subscribers and I would love to continue to grow. So please consider becoming part of the den. So let's go ahead and chat about these books though, because I have a lot to say. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one, which is Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. And so this one, of course, has been all over the place, but this one you have Finlay, and she is an author who's kind of struggling with writer block right now. And she meets up with her agent, and they're talking about the plot of her next book. And somebody overhears her and thinks that she is a killer for hire, is essentially the premise of the book. And so from there, Finley kind of finds herself in these different situations and whatnot, and it's just a good time. This one, I typically don't enjoy cozy, like, murder mysteries at all. They're not my cup of tea. I love this one, and I don't know, part of it I think might have been because not so much the character of Finley, just her reactions and the situation she found herself in made me think of my sister. So I think that's partly why I enjoyed it so much, just because I could picture my sister finding her way into these situations. Um, but it was also just a good time. I think one of the things I don't enjoy overall about murder mysteries, like cozy murder mysteries, is one, they're over the top, which I typically don't enjoy. And this one definitely was, but like I said, it was done, it felt a little bit more realistic, a little more wholesome, so to speak. But the other thing is you have these characters and they're have no qualifications whatsoever, and they're gonna solve these murders and whatnot. And it just kind of irks me. Like, it's like you have no standing to be able to solve anything. Where in this one, that's not the case with Finley. She's solving it because she finds herself in the situation and she's having to try to figure her way out of it. So that's why she's investigating and trying to solve this murder mystery, essentially. But yeah, it's just a really, really enjoyable read. I'm not gonna go through the whole CAWPILE rating on these books just because, well, we got a lot to get through, but I will talk a little bit about what I thought were the strengths and weaknesses as far as the CAWPILE categories. And as always, if you're interested in the CAWPILE rating system, the original channel is linked down below. So, but for this one, I thought where it really stood out was the characters. I really enjoyed the characters. They were relatable and fun, and so the characters were excellent. And I thought the writing and the plot were both pretty solid as well. Like the plot, it was a solid plot line. What I didn't like, what I thought was kind of weakness, was the atmosphere. I didn't think you got a really good sense of the atmosphere, and then also the logic. You know, there's certain things about it. It's like really, so you do kind of have to like not take it too seriously in order to fully enjoy it, which is just kind of the nature of the book. So I'm not faulting it too much on the logic. It just was a little bit of a weak point, I thought. But still, it worked. Like everything worked well together. And yeah, it was just a good time. Like I really enjoyed this one. It's definitely something I needed after all these kind of heavy, very either emotional books or very, thought-provoking books where you really had to be present while you're reading it. I just needed a light, fun read, and definitely perfect for summertime. I've been seeing the sequel, which is Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, going on to a lot of TVRs recently. I'm hoping to pick that one up soon so I can continue to see where Finley goes from here. And the end of this book does definitely set up for the next book, as far as I can tell. I haven't read the synopsis of the next book, but I'm assuming, it's based on what happened at the end. It will just follow along that line. So really excited to pick that up hopefully soon, and then I will be reading it. But yeah, a really really good time for sure. Definitely recommend it. Even if you're not, like I said, a big cozy mystery murder mystery fan. Um I'm not, and I really enjoy this one, so it might be one that you enjoy as well. Next up, we'll talk about If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. And I got this one because when I bought Finley Donovan, it was buy one, get one 50% off. And so I was kind of looking to see what other ones I might be interested in. And I saw this one, and I had seen it a few times here on Booktube. And I thought, that one might be one I enjoy. I'm a sucker for Cinderella. And I like that it had a plus size main character. So in this one, you have Sydney, and she's obsessed with shoes, one, which is perfect for a Cinderella inspired character. And she goes back home, and her stepmom is a showrunner for Before Midnight, which is basically kind of a bachelorette style show. And two girls drop out, and I will say on the synopsis, it says that Sydney is thrust into the spotlight, like almost like she didn't have a choice, like she was just helping her stepmom out. And that is not true. Her stepmom actually didn't want her on the show, and she made that decision for herself, which I think really changes the dynamic, which I think is important for sure. So I just wanted to mention that because I do think it's not a big distinction, but it does kind of change the dynamic. And going in, I thought she was going to be like thrust into the spotlight, where it was her choice. So, but anyways, she's on the show, and of course, being plus size, she has to deal with a lot of different things on the show that the other women don't have to deal with, from snarky comments to not having clothes that fit her and things like that. But yeah, overall, a really good solid read if you like I'm not a big Bachelorette fan. I watched it when I was younger with my mom, like when it first came out and such. And it has a way of pulling you in and it's enjoyable, but I'm not like a huge fan now. But I did enjoy that dynamic, and I enjoyed the plus size rep with Sydney. The only thing I thought it was pretty relatable, especially like I watched several, they're more mid-sized, fashion people here on YouTube. But they talk about size ranges and such for different brands and whatnot, and it is true, like it's really hard to find cute clothes when you're plus size, clothes that fit at all, like especially I don't like online shopping at all, and so I can't find stuff in the store. And so I thought that kind of conversation in the book was excellent and really well done, and something to talk about for sure. The only thing, and kind of the situations that Sydney is in and how she feels in those situations, like, she's always trying to make herself smaller and such. I thought that was really relatable, but I did not relate to how Sydney's relationship with food was presented in this book. Because it's not that she just enjoyed food, which I thought that would have been a great representation. Like, you can be plus size and enjoy food and whatnot, but she was like obsessed with food, and I did not like that representation. Like, the very beginning, she's a kid and she's waiting for pizza to come, and she's timing to try to get a free pizza. um and then the other section that kind of like was her and the male lead were on a date, and he goes to kiss her, and she's like, the only thing that could take me away from these dumplings were his lips, or something like that. And I was like, really? Like, I didn't like that narrative around food. Like, you can be plus size and enjoy food, and enjoy eating and such, but it was like she was obsessed, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But other than that, I thought it was done really really well. But it just was kind of meh for me. Like it was enjoyable in the moment, but it's not like amazing. It's not something that's gonna stick with me. As far as like CAWPILE, I thought the characters were pretty solid. You got a good sense of them, and I did think the plot was pretty solid as well. I liked, the Bachelorette plot line, and such. What I didn't like, I didn't think the atmosphere or the writing, I mean, they're all kind of, this one was kind of just even kill, like right in the middle all the way around. But atmosphere and writing were just like a smidge lower for me. And I think it was because of that food dynamic with the writing. And then the atmosphere is just kind of, again, meh for me. So um but is a solid read, is a good time. I can see me rereading this one, actually picking it up again if I just want something light and easy. And so yeah, pretty solid there, even though it was only a 3 star. And then Finlay Donovan, I don't know if I mentioned it, was a 4 star for sure. So next up we have Cinder, which is another Cinderella one, of course. And this one was actually a 4 star for me. I really, really enjoyed this one. I thought this one was done really well. And I was a little nervous going into this one because I've seen mixed things on this one. People either seem to really love it or they just don't. And so I was a little worried going into this one that I might be in the camp that just doesn't enjoy it, especially because it's more futuristic, a little bit sci-fi, a little bit kind of tiny bit fantasy, but more sci-fi. I would say kind of steampunk vibes for sure. And I was thinking, I don't know that I'm gonna enjoy this one. And I loved it. This was a 4 star for me for sure. And it was just a solid read. The only thing that really made me mad about this book is it leaves you hanging. Like it leaves you hanging. It's not even really a cliffhanger. It just leaves you kind of, it's unresolved. Like it just ends, and I'm assuming it will pick up in the next book. But the next book is also more like Red Riding Hood inspired, and so I'm like, how does Cinder, is it gonna address Cinder in the beginning, or are you gonna be left hanging through the beginning of the story? Like, I don't know how it's gonna play out. I'm definitely planning on picking up the next book. I want to do the whole series, honestly, but definitely the next book soon. Which I did not like how it left me feeling unresolved. Like, I'm all for the like series reads being like really tightly together, like you need to read the series to continue the story, but normally at the end of the first book or whatever, it's kind of resolved to a specific point, and then you carry on from there. Where this one, it's just, it felt unresolved, so that's the only thing that really frustrated me. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the dynamic between Cinder and Prince Kai. I thought that was done really good. Um and the only thing that was kind of confusing for me is you have the cyborg aspect, then you also have these lunar people that aren't trusted, and the queen is ready to go to war with Earth. And so there's kind of a lot, and I don't think the lunar aspect was as well developed as it could have been, but I think that will be more developed going throughout the series. But I was left wanting to know more about these lunar people and how things work with them, and why their queen is so evil. I wanted more of that, less of kind of the cyborg and such. The cyborg aspect is very, very interesting. Like, don't get me wrong, which I didn't expect to enjoy that. That's why I was kind of hesitant on this one. But yeah, this one was really, really good. So I know, like I said, very different camps as far as enjoyment on this one. But if you're on the fence, I would definitely give it a try because it might surprise you like it did me. And for this one, the atmosphere was the highest as far as points in the CAWPILE rating. I also thought the characters and the writing were pretty solid. Logic fell a little short, along with plot and intrigue as well. Those felt a little short for me. I wasn't as interested in that. I was really interested in Cinder and such. But I kind of figured out the twist, I guess, right away, and so it wasn't really surprising to me. So that kind of fell short, and then just kind of the logic of the lunar people and kind of their interactions, like the logic there didn't really make sense, and I think because it wasn't fully explained. So overall, though, really, really love this. Like I said, I'm itching to get the next one so I can read it right away. But I'm a little frustrated at the same time because this one feels unresolved, and I don't know how that's going to transfer into the next one because the next one's more Red Riding Hood inspired. And so I don't know how, like, reading the synopsis, Cinder obviously plays a big role in all of them, but I don't know if it's gonna resolve where it left off with Cinder, or it's gonna jump right into these Red Riding Hood characters and then meet up with Cinder later. Like, I'm not sure how the second book's gonna look, and this one being left unresolved like that, I'm like a little bit worried about that. So, hopefully I can pick up the second one soon so I can continue on this series, but definitely worth a try if you're a little bit on the fence because it really surprised me for sure. So, last one is one that my grandma gave me. Um, and that's Tell Me the Truth by Kiersten Modglin. This was only a 3 star, kind of on the lower end of 3 stars for me. And basically, the premise of this one is you have Edith, and she finds pictures of another woman on her husband's phone, and so she's trying to figure out who this other woman is. He's kind of gaslighting her and telling her, like nothing's going on. My friend put him on there as a joke. And that's kind of the whole premise, is her trying to figure out this other who this other woman is and such. And my grandma actually told me, what happens in this book. So going in, I was kind of excited for it. It sounded really interesting. Nothing exciting happens until the last 50 pages. It's about 250 pages. So the first 200 pages is basically her trying to find proof of her husband cheating and her confronting him and them getting into fights. And it just kind of dragged, and I was like, oh boy. And then the last 50 pages are just kind of rushed and not very well developed. Like, I don't know, it's just all rushed, and it didn't really makes sense. I wish it had been done where the events of the 50 pages were the bulk of the story. Um, you know, because it's just like, oh, she figured out this and then this and this and this, and it felt a little bit rushed, and it wasn't developed enough to really make sense either. And so that kind of fell short. I will say what's really done well in this one is the gaslighting, for sure. Like, I was even doubting that the husband actually had an affair or anything like that. Like, um, the gaslighting from the husband was done so well. Like, it had me doubting Edith. And so that's the only thing that I thought was like, wow. But the rest, it's just the pacing and like the layout of the story needed some work for sure. But overall, a good solid, like, kind of psychological, not really, it's not even really a thriller. Um I don't even know what category, like, kind of like a psychological, like, mystery, essentially. But yeah, it just fell a little short for me. It was solid. I was able to get through it pretty easily. It's short. It's only, like we said, about 250 pages. And so this one definitely, like I said, was on the low end of a 3 star. I did enjoy the characters, and I did enjoy the plot. But the atmosphere fell a little short. It's supposed to be like in the South, I think Georgia, and you just didn't get that. And yeah, it was the middle of like a snowstorm and winter and such. So it was cold, like it was the coldest that they had been in a while, like record breaking cold and such. But I don't know, I just didn't get that southern atmosphere at all, and the writing, the intrigue and the logic of it, like I said, just didn't really make sense to me. Because the logic, it all happens in the last 50 pages, and like I said, there's no developing that because there's just not enough pages. And so I wish, like I said, the layout of the story had been a little bit different, like maybe 50 pages on her trying to figure out if her husband's cheating or not, and then the rest of it as far as like what they're going to do about it, essentially. So yeah, just the layout was the problem with this one, and then that last portion not being very well developed, and so some of the things that happened didn't really make sense. Um, yeah. I mean, I know she was trying to keep like the suspense and such. Uh I get that, but it just didn't work for me. But overall, not a bad book. It was a solid read and I did enjoy it overall. So, those are the four books I recently read. Let me know if you've read any of these, especially if you've read the second one in the Lunar Chronicles. Don't give any spoilers. Just let me know, is the whole Cinder where she left off, is that addressed right away, or you have to kind of work your way through a little bit before that gets addressed? I want to know because that left me really, really frustrated, and so I'm interested in knowing that. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, if you're interested in reading any of these. And yeah, we'll go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.